Today on Aging Untold, installing cameras to keep your aging loved ones safe.
As long as it's there to support and not to surveil. And that's my issue.
We'll explore the fine line between overseeing care and invasion of privacy. Plus, your older friends are dying and no one told you how much it would hurt.
And it really gets you thinking about your own mortality, and the key is to not let it take you down into depression.
We're tackling the unexpected grief of losing people as we age. And later, threading connections.
I had a 9-year-old that out-crocheted me. Yes, it happens.
The craft creating community between both old and young. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Keeping our aging loved ones safe is a top priority for many of us, and using cameras may be an option. But at what point does protection become an invasion of privacy? Sam, before we address giving consent, what are some of the factors pushing families to want cameras in the home in the first place?
Well, I think we now live in a day and age where we should have cameras everywhere in our own homes for safety. You know, there's always the welcome guest, but there are unfortunately some unwelcome guests. And because our age population is a little more susceptible and they can fall prey to that, then I think it's wise, and I understand why families would want to have it there. But if you're monitoring to try and take care of them, a camera's not going to take care of somebody. A camera is not a caregiver. A camera is not a family member. A camera is a monitoring device to see if they're declining and they need more assistance. So if you're using it for the right reasons, I support that. If you have care in the home, absolutely you should have a camera there so that you can monitor the level of care. You know, you're paying a lot of money, somebody's paying a lot of money for a caregiver to be there. Make sure you're getting your bang for your buck and they're not just sitting over watching YouTube all day while mom's taking care of herself, because I have seen that happen. So I support it, but I also have my concerns.
There has limits and all that, and I think some people will use that as just an extra set of eyes for whatever it is that you're really trying to figure out.
Well, I love that here she comes from the home care agency owner role, and she's even saying monitor the home care agency, monitor the employees, because you need to make sure you're getting your money's worth, like you said, and that they're really helping improve quality of life.
Right.
But I think there can be a real false sense of security when you think, well, we're watching her in case something happens. Because my thinking is that if you're really afraid that she's not okay by herself, then maybe she shouldn't be by herself, camera or not. That maybe the environment no longer supports the stage that she's in, so we need care, or maybe we need to make a move.
I think that people need to recognize some of the signs that support that maybe it's time for her to not be there by herself.
No, I like that you're saying that, because really if you looked at, okay, someone needs help with their medicine, we'll get a medication management system. You're afraid of someone falling, get a motion sensor system. Back in the day, all we had was that I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yes.
And I remember the first time I went in and I found one of my clients on the floor and he'd been laying there, and I said, why didn't you hit your butt? And he goes, this isn't an emergency. You know,
Right.
You know, but I like people to look at what's needed and use the technology that would support that. Sometimes it's a nice way to introduce help in the home as the first step towards getting a caregiver. Sometimes you can introduce caregivers a little easier if you've introduced technology in the home.
As long as it's there to support and not to surveil. And that's my issue. If we're there to support our aged loved ones by having a camera, keeping them safe from predators or from unscrupulous even family members or outside people, I'm great with it. But if all we're doing is using it as a listening device or a monitoring device to either be the care provider or to surveil them, then I can have some issues, because I don't care how old you are, I don't care who you are, dignity should still be the first thing that we have. Respect and dignity. And so can we do that? Yeah. But you don't have to have a camera in the bathroom.
Or over the bed.
Or over the bed.
Over the bed.
Well, but the other thing
and I
too
should still
is-
be entitled to intimate moments.
Exactly. And a lot of times they feel like there's a loss of control. And so perhaps inviting them into that conversation as to making this decision
Exactly.
and how that's going to benefit them and make it, hey, how's this going to help you?
Right.
These are the
You
things that
want
can
their
help you.
buy-in to it. No, I
But-
agree with you. Yeah.
So many of these seniors that are being monitored by camera, they have no idea or
Yeah.
the ability to understand.
Right.
And so I'm telling you, that is not safe, and I don't think it's right. If you have a monitoring device that maybe monitors mom's still in bed, but it's not a camera, or how long she's been in the bathroom, or she went out the front door, that is more palatable. But, you know, if I'm walking across my living room in my jammies, or I'm sitting
Or
down
in my
watching
bare-
TV, and I don't know I'm being watched, that's not fair to
Yeah.
me.
And why is it different for that? If a person is competent, they're not declared incompetent, why doesn't informed consent play a role here?
And I believe that consent should be paramount. Yes, I own home care agency, and I'm 1,000,000% an advocate for having cameras, especially if you have outside help in that home. I'm always for that. But the person that's being watched needs to know.
Right.
One technology that I really love the evolution of it is the personal alert system.
Oh, yes.
It used to be you just hit the button, but now if you're out in the mall or you're out in the parking lot, you can actually talk to someone and get the help you need. So it's like
More personable.
more personable. Like you talk a lot about assessment, so
Right.
assessing for the need for it.
Exactly.
We'll be right back with more on Aging Untold.
Coming up, the older we get, the more we have to say goodbye.
She had intentionally made friends of different ages because she didn't want to be left with no friends.
We're looking at how to cope with the loss of those who have been by our side for decades and finding meaning in the midst of grief. After the break, a scheme targeting unsuspecting homeowners.
You never think someone's going to come along and try to take your actual home, the walls of your home, away from you.
We'll uncover how criminals are stealing whole homes and explore solutions for protecting one of your biggest investments.
For most people, their home is considered their safe haven, never imagining that the roof over their heads could be stolen from them. This nightmare known as deed fraud is happening to homeowners across the country. Sierra Cummings is in Atlanta to explain how the scheme works and uncover solutions that can give homeowners peace of mind.
We turned it into my office. And
Melissa Sanis takes us through her Atlanta home
I hang out in there a lot. But
to the office
those are all the chapters.
where she's writing a novel.
Full-time job.
But there's another story unfolding at this house, too. One she wishes was fiction.
Do you know anybody by the name of Angela Spradley?
No, never heard of her.
Except Spradley is the so-called new owner of Melissa's house.
It is absolutely shocking.
Real estate transactions confirm they bought the house in 2021. Yet Angela Spradley's name is listed as the grantee in this deed transfer. It shows an LLC transfer ownership of the Sanis house to Spradley, making her the owner. A fraudulent document, according to Sanis. A document that doesn't make sense because an LLC did not own the house in the first place to even give it away to Spradley.
We are trained to think that we've got to hold our purses closer to us when we're walking through a parking lot, or, we know not to leave keys in our car. But you never think someone's going to actually come in and not just rob you of the things inside your home, but try to steal your actual home.
The allegedly forged document filed in the Fulton County Clerk's office March 2022. Around that same time, multiple other deeds transferred Atlanta homes over to Spradley. Possible because up until 2025, Georgia had a loophole in state law. We exposed and help close it. Previously, state policy did not require identification when filing or transferring a deed, meaning the state did not require anyone to actually prove they owned the very property for the paperwork which they're filing. Thieves stealing the title to houses, like Spradley, whose alleged forgery did not stop in Atlanta. In Bibb County, she was arrested, sentenced, and convicted for stealing 5 properties there. In Atlanta, there's no criminal case against Spradley's alleged forgeries, leaving families like the Santis hopeful that local officials seek prosecution too.
Your home is your safe haven. You never think someone's going to come along and try to take your actual home, the walls of your home, away from you.
Holy cow, that was a beautiful house. So I'm just going to say that first.
I am with you 100%. That was jaw-dropping.
No wonder she didn't want Angela to abscond with it.
Right.
I bet Angela didn't know how pretty it was.
I did see one where they had the deed in their name, and then they did a quick claim like this, got the deed, took a mortgage out in their name, and then didn't pay it, obviously, so now they've cashed in, they've got the money, and then the home was going under foreclosure, and this older couple had no idea. So once that quick claim deed's out there, you can't protect yourself from a mortgage somebody else has taken on your home that you don't know about.
I live in Georgia, and I am a little nervous. So I want to look at my deed. I want to talk to a title insurance company, make sure that the law supports that it's my house, because my understanding is, is there court oversight, and if there isn't in your state, you could be in trouble.
Coming up, younger generations embrace a craft associated with grandmothers. We meet a group stitching yarn and special bonds. But first, the grief of losing lifelong friends. We explain why aging adults often feel unheard and why they need compassion during these times. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.
As we navigate the journey of getting older, there's one profound experience, some say, that often goes unaddressed, and that's the loss of our longtime friends. It can bring a unique kind of grief when one by one we lose close confidants. Amy, you believe that this pain of losing friends as we get older is sometimes minimized. Why is that?
Well, I think people think because you're older that you're used to losing people. I think if you look back at maybe the first time you lost a sibling or a friend, how painful that is. And as you get older, you have more of them leaving you. So you have your history, you have your memories, you have all that experience together and the grief that goes along with that. So how I think about it, has a fancy name, it's called disenfranchised grief. But how I think about it is try to think about getting together with people your own age to kind of experience the same or share the same things that you had when you were that age. Pictures, memories, don't be afraid to talk about how much you miss them.
Yeah, I think one of the saddest things I see is, yes, there is more loss as we age, but then I've seen people that decide that they're not going to connect to others because they don't want to lose anyone else. And so they then self-isolate to save themselves from that loss. And it's kind of like, that mindset of I'm not going to get another dog because I lost my dog,
Yeah.
and you then lose out on the joy of having friendships and having those connections, and it honestly takes away from you.
Yeah.
I know this happens as you get older, but we just did my class reunion, and we've already lost over 20% of my graduating class. And I was like, oh my gosh, at my age. And then you think about, as we get older, we do have more loss, but there is that expectation that, well, you're old, you're supposed to die, so
What do you expect?
what do you expect? And so we're not giving our elderly people enough time to actually grieve and go through the grieving process.
But what about when many of them are grieving because they feel like many of their friends are leaving and they're still here. Then they feel guilt. And I
Yes.
just try to let them know, you're still here for a reason. There's a purpose.
I love that.
And let's figure out what that is.
No,
That's
I
called
love
survivor
that.
guilt.
Yeah.
And
that is
two-
a survivor guilt, and you see that coming out of war, you see that coming out of tragedy, where the survivor oftentimes feels guilty, and our age population deals with that a lot, especially when they've lost their spouse. Why am I still here? Why didn't you take me?
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say elderly. People in the 50s and 60s are losing their cousins, their friends, lots of people, and it's so weird when it starts happening. And it really gets you thinking about your own mortality. And the key is to not let it take you down into depression. I sit with a lot of, let's say, widows in their home that say, I just pray every night for God to take me. Why am I still here? And that is serious, that's sad, it's real depression. So what can we do? And I think that being isolated is a big factor in this, because you never know when you can meet your next best friend. Being with cohorts, as you said, so you can kind of commiserate together and understand each other, like, yeah, no, all my cousins are gone, and, and lift each other up.
I remember the first time I met someone, I think she might have been 80, and she had intentionally made friends of different ages. Because she didn't want to be left with no friends. And I thought, who takes that long view? But the more I think about it, I think when I go to my yoga class, I'm going to try to introduce myself, because we're all going to be in that position. The other thing I've seen people do is don't be afraid to go to a grief support group.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, just take advantage of that. The depth of the experience sharing in those groups is so helpful.
That's the self part. You have to acknowledge that this is what's happening with me, and it's okay.
Learning adaptability skills can really help. What can you do to stay positive? And use it as a perspective shift. How will I live? And what can I do to really focus on what matters now?
Exactly.
All right, we'll be back with more things that matter on Aging Untold.
After the break, a timeless craft helps weave a community together.
We just come here and we crochet. We have all levels, all ages.
How a hook and yarn are helping people connect.
Crochet is a form of fiber art that uses one hook and yarn to make interlocking stitches. Unlike knitting or weaving, crochet cannot be replicated by machine. In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one group is making sure this centuries-old craft thrives in their community. Elizabeth Bell takes us to the class getting younger generations hooked.
I already know I have about 4 or 5 that I have not finished.
It's one of those skills that takes you back to another time.
If you think about your family heirlooms, you know, the quilt that your great aunt made,
You only need to do that slip stitch once.
you know, that sweater that your grandma knitted for you.
This is going to be a poncho.
To be able to give that to somebody who might really need it is a great feeling.
This is like 4 skeins of yarn.
Joe here learned from his babysitter some 50-odd years ago.
And I stuck with it. And I've been doing it ever since.
Now, what are you making?
Ann Brown learned from her great aunt when she was 12.
Then you're going to do your single crochet around.
Now she's teaching another
So you're
child,
going to go around 2 times. You got this. You can do this.
Miss Abigail. She's 10.
But I had a 9-year-old that out crocheted me. Yes, it happens.
This is Threadheads,
So it isn't that hard.
a crochet group offered by the Greenwell Springs Road Branch Library in East Baton Rouge.
We just come here and we crochet. We have all levels, all ages.
Every Monday evening, you'll find a collection of crochet enthusiasts, from beginners like Abigail
I mean, I can't keep up with knitting, so
to pros like Joe,
we need some granny squares.
You all right over there?
all busy with their hooks
hand?
and yarn.
Some people come in, they want a project. Some people come in, they want help with their project, or we just chill and just crochet. This is the alpine stitch.
Ann is the group organizer.
So this is a sampler.
She says crochet can be a type of therapy, and interest in the craft has grown over the years.
Oh, it's just a nice way to come together and fellowship, because there's so many people out there that feel isolated. And I think that was really bad during COVID, but I think we're coming back together now, and people are starting to realize that we need to hang out together, you know, socialize, because we are social creatures.
These are all made from Walmart bags.
And Threadheads isn't the only craft group offered by the EBR library system.
We're making very specific projects.
Librarian Ashley Michelle runs Crochet for a Cause once a month out of the main library on Goodwood.
I wanted to do something a little different, like maybe something that could give back to the community.
Their projects go to specific charities,
So we can make a blanket out of that.
including waterproof mats for homeless people
We make what's called Plarn.
and Project Linus, which provides blankets for kids going through a tough time.
I love it.
No matter the group,
That can be a scarf or a shawl.
the skill level,
And it took me a while to figure that out.
or the cause,
These are prosthetics for women who have gone through mastectomies.
the goal is the same: binding people together like crocheting has done for generations.
I'm so happy to see that legacy being brought back out. I remember in the 70s, crochet was really popular, and I have a crochet hook at home.
I've seen a lot of younger people doing this now. My daughter crochets, and obviously she's pretty young because I'm still young.
Well, okay, Sam, let me say something about that.
I remember when I was much younger, and my aunt I used to crochet with her. She taught me, and I used to do it all the time. And then over time, I just kind of forgot how to do it.
Okay.
But that brought back memories.
No, I've got a secret. I crochet.
Wow.
Do you?
Yeah, I haven't done it in a long time, but an awareness just came to me when I was watching that. I crocheted all through high school, but I went to 3 different high schools. And now I'm looking at that and I think that gave me like peace of mind. It calmed me down.
I think the most important thing they talked about was socialization and being part of the community.
Yeah, multiple benefits: calming, just chilling.
Yeah, and to know you could put your wisdom and talent to use and help others.
Teach somebody.
We're all getting older, and it's about time we talked about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, not having enough water can add up to big problems.
You may feel confused, you may have dizziness, low blood pressure, which is why people start falling.
We'll explain why seniors are at greater risk of dehydration and what you can do to help them and yourselves stay vital.